What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today we look at the NFL releasing its schedule later on tonight. We already know the kind of opponents, home and road, but we find out the order, we find out the buys, we find out things like the international game, the primetime games, and more for the green and white in what we expect to be an amazing 2025 season. So, for those of you who don't know, I want to start by telling you kind of even before the schedule release officially comes out, and there's been all sorts of leaks. You hear some Monday Night Football games. You hear the Jets and their London game, who that's going to be. It looks like it's going to be against the Broncos in Week 6, but that's not official just yet. But here's what we do know, because if you don't realize, the NFL schedule is a formula, okay? How we figure out who the 17 games are. And let me talk through it with you, okay? First of all, you play home and away versus your own division, right? So they're going to have home and away games against the Pats, against the Bills, and against the Dolphins. That makes up 6 of the 17 games. Then what you do is, on a rotating kind of schedule, you play one other entire division in the AFC and one other entire division in the NFC. So for the NFC, I actually think it's good. We draw the NFC South, which I actually think is the weakest of the 4 NFC divisions. So we're going to have games against the Saints, Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks. I think that's better than playing the NFC East. I think that's better than playing the NFC North or having to go out west for 2 road trips, okay? The AFC division that we play is going to be tough. It's the AFC North, okay? I actually believe the AFC North is one of the toughest divisions in all of football. You got the Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and Bengals. I will say this, though. The Jets should be favored to beat the Browns, and we will get a Justin Fields revenge game against the Steelers. Clearly, the Ravens and the Bengals, the Ravens will be obviously a tough opponent. The Bengals will be a tough test for our defense. Then what happens is, because the Jets finished in 3rd place last year, you play the 2 other 3rd place teams in the AFC, not in that division you're talking about. That's why you see some kind of rivalries. Like you see the Bills play the Chiefs all the time because they got a 1st place schedule. So they're going to play each other even if they're not in the divisional rotation, right? So for us, that means the Broncos and the Jaguars. Listen, the Jaguars, I think, is a good matchup for us. The Broncos game, and like I said, there's been kind of some notes there that the Broncos game is going to be in London. It's going to be an international game. So that's kind of a unique one. We'll see about that. But so far, I think it kind of plays out well for us. Then that makes the 16 games. Then the 17th game is an intra-conference against, this time it's against the Cowboys, all right? It could have been a lot worse. It's not like it's against Washington or Philly or something like that. So the other things that I think make this schedule kind of good for us, quite frankly, is we don't really travel out west. If you look at these opponents, the furthest kind of West Coast trip that we could have, the furthest west we go, is basically Cincinnati, right? So outside of maybe Cincy, outside of maybe cold games when we play at New England or at Buffalo, we don't have to make the big West Coast road trip, right? Because we don't play the AFC West or the NFC West or have that kind of extra game out west. So that lack of a true road game out west on a different time zone, I think, is a good thing. The other thing is we have the London home game. It looks like that is going to be against the Denver Broncos. It looks like that is going to be in Week 6. That means potentially we are going to have a bye probably in Week 7. So we'll see about that. But I really think that the divisions we drew, the NFC South, for example, I think that's good. I think that we don't have to go out west. I think that's good. The Dallas one also, that's a home game. You know, we got a lot of domes as well, if you think about it. The Saints, Falcons, if those are road games, we're indoors in that. So I think it works out well. Obviously, the schedule is released tomorrow, and we will have more kind of context on, you know, what it looks like. And I'll look for things and show you things like the bye weeks. I'll look for things like tough or easy stretches, right? I'll look for things like, do we have back-to-back road games, which is something that NFL coaches say is a problem. We'll see if the schedule smiles upon us. We'll see how many primetime games we have and that sort of thing once it is released. But that's how the schedule is formed, okay? And remember, the divisions we drew and the lack of West Coast trips, I think, are really good. I want to turn our attention to something else. A lot of people saw that Jadeveon Clowney got released in Carolina. There's been some people out on social media, even in the comments here on Jets Latest, saying that we need to go get Jadeveon Clowney. We need to go get another edge rusher. We need to get Jadeveon Clowney. I'm going to tell you something. While that could be one of the vet sprinkles that I talk about on defense, I actually don't think Clowney is a fit for us. Let me tell you why. First of all, He's been on 6 teams in 11 years in his career, right? We all remember kind of the hit he made in college against Michigan, going number 1 overall ahead of Reggie Bush in his draft, right? And kind of the pomp and circumstance that came with him being a generational pass rusher. He has not been Myles Garrett, who's another number 1 overall edge rusher. He just hasn't. He's bounced around in his career, and the last four years, he's been with a team 1 year and done, kind of hopping around the league. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade on him, but it just doesn't seem to be a fit for what Glenn and Moshe are trying to do, right? We're trying to build a culture, have people develop together. So I don't necessarily think Clowney is a fit. And here's the other thing. The Jets were actually tough to throw on last year. If you look at some of the numbers, if you look deeper into some of the numbers, we had 42 sacks last year. That was tied for 11th most in the NFL, right? So you say, maybe average, slightly above average. But if you look deeper, there's something called sack rate, which considers a percentage based on kind of how many times people are throwing against you. That gets us into the top 10. Then if you look at pressure rate, which is like how many times and what percentage of the time was the quarterback maybe didn't get sacked but was under pressure. Our pressure rate of 32.2 was actually 4th highest in the league. So we are getting to the quarterback. We are causing disruptions in the passing game. There's another stat called clean pocket rate for a quarterback. How often did the quarterback have a clean pocket to be able to stand and deliver and make a throw that a quarterback should? 63.1%. That is the 5th lowest against the Jets defense. So they're getting pressure. The quarterback is not clean. And then when you put that together, remember with our secondary, right, that we believe is going to play more press man, that Aaron Glenn is kind of drafting and signing for to play man coverage. You know about Sauce, right? The completion percentage against the Jets at just shy of 63% was tied for the 6th lowest in the NFL. And I think, when your pass rush works in tandem with press coverage and the lanky guys that we have, I think that is a good combination. And here's the other part. Remember what I've said before when it comes to this. We are getting Jermaine Johnson back. Jermaine Johnson is someone who showed flashes, who had 7.5 sacks his last full year. We've got Will McDonald, 10.5 sacks last year, right? Them being healthy together. Remember, we also added Tyler Barron, who, if you remember, had the 2nd best pressure rate among college football edge rushers behind only a 1st-round draft pick, right? So there is some chops there in terms of rushing the pass rusher. I don't think we're going to go ahead and get Jadeveon Clowney. I will say this, Clowney is probably going to sign somewhere, may sign on what looks like a team-friendly deal. I just don't think he's a fit for this new edition here of the green and white. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is you probably saw last weekend, there was rookie minicamp. A lot of things we're going to be talking about rookie minicamp along with the schedule for the rest of the week here on Jets Latest. You saw some great reports out of some guys. We'll talk about that. We'll get some quotes. We'll tell you what was going on in minicamp. But one of the things I'm excited about is that people are there already. Okay, there was participation from pretty much everybody, and all but one of our draft picks have already signed their contract. Look, Membu has signed, and you have the details right there. 4 years, over $31 million with a big-time signing bonus. He's going to wear number 70. You maybe saw some talk about like what numbers they're going to wear as well. A.Z. Thomas has signed, got a signing bonus, going to rock 23. Arian Smith, most recently, is the most recent one to sign. He was left out there, but he has signed $5.2 million over 4 years. He's going to rock 82. Then you see on and on and on. Malachi Moore, Kiko, Barron, and I put 2 undrafted free agents there. Because if you saw my 53-man projection, I think these 2 guys, while undrafted free agents, are going to make the 53-man roster. And first is Donovan Edwards, and I want to tell you, the contract he got also suggests that the Jets think he's going to make this roster. 3 years, just shy of $3 million. He's going to be number 40. And Brady Cook, who I think is going to be QB3. We'll talk about him a little bit more, what he was doing in rookie minicamp. He's going to wear number 4. The one draft pick that is yet to be signed is Mason Taylor, the 2nd-round draft pick, the tight end. He is apparently looking for a fully guaranteed deal. There are some other 2nd-round picks who got that. That is kind of in vogue in contract negotiations right now in the NFL. And then there was some uniform drama, right? They gave him number 46 at first. People were like, hey, this guy's going to be a big part of the offense. Why don't we give him a number in the 80s? And ultimately, he is going to be number 85. So I think that's what you need to know, that these guys are signed. They're in the building. Mason Taylor, who has not signed, was in the building, running routes and all that. There will be more on rookie minicamp later on this week in Jets Latest. We'll talk about how these guys are adjusting, what we saw out of, for example, Arian Smith. Did he drop the ball all the time? Did he not? And there's been some definitive takeaways from rookie minicamp. We'll talk about that And we will dig into the details of the Jets' schedule later on this week. But remember, it's a formula. 6 against the division, plus 8 against 2 other divisions, that makes 14. The third place games, that's another 2, that makes 16, and then the last game is against the Cowboys. So honestly, the third place schedule helps, the NFC South helps, and I truly believe the fact that we make no big time plane trips west of Cincinnati or Baltimore or Dallas, potentially Dallas is a home game. It sets up good for us weather-wise, competition-wise, and kind of logistic flight-wise. So far, I think the schedule smiles upon us. We'll see how they are sequenced together and what kind of tough or easy stretches, bye weeks, primetime games we have once the schedule is actually released a little bit later on tonight. The one thing we think we know is that week 6, the London game, will be against the Denver Broncos, and that'll be technically a home game. And so then it stands to reason it is likely that our bye week will be week 7 after the international game. But that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Please remember to watch this video, like the video, subscribe to the Jets Latest channel, tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. It is an exciting time for the green and white, and engage with me. I'd love to hear you on the comments. I try to reply back to as many as I can. You can also hit me up on Twitter or X. I'm at Spittin' Speeds. Hit me up, DM me, whatever the case may be. I love talking, especially to other fans of the JETS, Jets, and I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show. Over on SiriusXM, channel number 87, the fantasy channel, we talk fantasy football and the NFL, fantasy baseball, if that's where you need help. The NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs are going on. FTN Fantasy is a great website, a lot of tools, Discord content, a lot of data sets and models to help you become a better fantasy player and a better sports bettor. We're helping you win your leagues and win that cash. But if you are locked in on the green and white, make sure to come on back tomorrow. We will look at the schedule and we will look at some of the things that happen in Jets rookie minicamp. All right, we will do that tomorrow. This is another edition of Jets Latest. We will see you then. Thanks to everybody who is watching, subscribing, saying positive things in the comments. We're continuing to build for what's going to be a big time 2025 for the green and white. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.